How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be talking about the newest EP from The Alchemist called This Thing of Ours Part 2. Do I even need to go into the fact that The Alchemist is on an absolutely insane run right now? I mean, out of all the producers in rap right now, like, who can you even compare to what this guy is doing? Just the consistency and quantity of beats and projects that he's been putting out has been insane. I mean, Alfredo, Haram, the two Boldy James albums, Yacht Rock 2, the first This Thing of Ours, Lulu with Conway, and there's a ton more, but it's just, there's so many, I can't even keep up with remembering them all off the top of my head, but every single project and beat this guy drops is just fucking amazing. It's just super quality, like top-notch beat making, like any aspiring or even professional hip-hop producers look up to this guy. I mean, like, he is just a legend, and I mean, he's been in the game for a long time. He's been putting out amazing material for a long time, with Dilated Peoples or with Step Brothers. I mean, he's just been producing for so many great people for the longest time, and he himself raps occasionally. I think he's a decent rapper, but his production is really why he's a legend. But, despite how long he's been in the game and how long he's been great for, I really feel like his newest material, or like the past 2 or 3 year run that he's been on, like, he's just the best he's ever been. It's like he almost just keeps getting better, and I don't understand how. Like, this man is a genius. He's a madman. He's an enigma in the hip-hop world, and I'm just so thankful to have him, and so are so many other hip-hop heads. This guy is just incredible. So this EP is the second one in its series, as I kind of mentioned earlier, and the first This Thing of Ours was another great project. That one featured Earl, Boldy James, Sideshow, Maxo, and Pink Saifu, and Navy Blue. Every single guest verse was fire. Alchemist laced them up with his amazing production as usual. I mean, Nobles and TV Dinner in particular, fucking amazing songs. And I mean, Loose Change, holy hell. Okay, it's only 4 tracks long. They're all amazing. I don't even know. I feel bad singling some out. But anyways, so I mean, if you haven't heard the first This Thing of Ours, go back to that. But this project here, obviously when it was announced, I was super excited for it because I love anything The Alchemist does, and I love the first This Thing of Ours. And also, when I saw the guest features on this new one, it was pretty much a whole new crop of rappers. None of the rappers on here were on This Thing of Ours too, which I really liked. I like hearing all sorts of different artists on Alchemist production, and just the selection he had on here was even more just like... Because, I mean, I feel like on This Thing of Ours Part 1, Navy Blue, Earl, Maxo, Pink Saifu, like, those guys are really all, like, in the same kind of zone and field in hip-hop. And that's not to say they don't have their differences, their own unique stylings. Of course, they all do. They're all amazing, unique artists in their own way. But they do occupy, the same lane. Like, they're in the same scene of underground hip-hop right now. And now Boldy James and Sideshow aren't really in that scene. They kind of have their own thing going on. Boldy is kind of a Detroit OG. He's been rapping for a long-ass time, but he's kind of in his prime recently. He's like an NBA player who's like, when they come out, it's like, okay, I see potential in them, but then like 7 or 8 years into their career, that's when they really start putting out their best material, playing their best ball. So, kind of similar thing with Boldy. Like, he's been around for a long time, but like 2020, he really just started this insane run that he's still on, and like he's just like on a whole other level from where he was like 7-8 years ago. And I still really dug him 7 or 8 years ago, but not nearly as much as I like him now. But yeah, even with him on that project, like the majority of the rappers Alchemist pulled for that project, like, just felt like they were from the same scene. Like, it seemed like he was going for a very consistent sound and style from the rappers he put on that project. But on this second part here, he got such a interesting and wide variety of people on here. There is Mike and Mavi, who I think you can kind of put in that same like Earl, Maxo, like Pink Saifu lane, even though, again, all these guys do have their own unique versions of that style. They all have their own attributes that make their music unique. I'd even say Mavi most of all. Like, Mavi kind of brings this like slight melodic influence into his rapping that really sets him apart. Like, I don't know, Mavi, I got my eye on Mavi. Mavi is doing some special shit in terms of his rapping, and hey, he tends to hop on great beats too. I've loved his project so far, but yeah, but either way, like, Mike and Mavi kind of reminiscent of the guests on the first This Thing of Ours, but then there's fucking Bruiser Brigade, and I was like, holy fuck, like, now that's a whole other style of rap that underground, super hilarious punchline Detroit shit. And then Z Loopers, who's also part of Bruiser Brigade, but like doesn't, you know, like he's not on the Bruiser Brigade track, and he's kind of like off in his own lane. Like, you know, he's definitely still associated with Bruiser Brigade. He does all the album covers for them. But again, like he's almost like more, he's just a crazy ass dude. Like I'll get into him when I talk about his track. But yeah, he got Z Loopers on here, which is a whole other style of rapping. And then Vince Staples to close thing out. So like the mix of rappers on here was a lot more varied and just like more of a random assortment than on the first This Thing of Ours, which maybe felt a little more like cohesive in terms of the rappers on it. But trust me, that does not make this one over here any worse. If anything, it just makes it a little more exciting. Whereas the first one had a pretty consistent vibe all the way through, which again, that's not bad at all. Like it's 4 tracks. It's not like that sound gets stale and all the tracks are killer. But it is cool on this one to have more of like, you know, a bouncing back and forth between different styles and showcasing like the different styles of beats Alchemist can make. Because that's the thing, like with all these different styles of rappers, Alchemist kind of has a chance to throw different beats out here. Like the beats on this I feel like are a lot less cohesive than the ones on the first This Thing of Ours. So I like that this doesn't just feel like, you know, the exact same thing as the first This Thing of Ours. It brings its own style and own overall sound and concept. So this thing opens up with the Mavi song Miracle Baby, and this is probably my favorite song on the project. Mavi, man, he just goes in. His verse on this thing, like there's no chorus, it's just one long verse of him just going in and in and in. His flow is fucking insane. It's not one consistent rhythm or cadence. Like he is just sliding on this track, constantly changing his flow and rhythm and cadence, and he's just like, I don't even know, man. He's like fucking Mr. Fantastic on here, just like bending and warping all over the place. And I love his energy here. He just sounds like really urgent, like there's an urgency to his performance, and it almost sounds like as he goes on, like his voice is getting a little more and more strained, and it's just like, you know, I almost get the sense that he's like running as he's rapping this and is like almost out of breath, but he's just rapping so emphatically, and like the flow is pretty fast paced for the whole time, and just like the way he enunciates certain words, like, I mean, this guy is just a master of rapping, like every technical aspects. Again, the flow, the cadence, the way he changes his flow and how seamless it is, and how he finds these insane pockets in the beat that, like, bro, if you play this beat, well, first of all, the beat's weird, and I'll get into that in a sec, but if you play this beat for most rappers, they're not going to rap on it like Mavi does here. Like, I don't even know. This guy is gifted. The way he just like slithers his way through this song and just pounces and sprints his way across this beat. Like it's magnificent to hear, and his lyrics are incredible as well, and it just like perfectly matches that tone and again urgency of his rapping. I wrote down some of his lyrics here. I like the part at the beginning where he's like, how God playing the drums for me and I missed the beat. You know, I don't know if he's kind of saying here like Alchemist is playing the drums for him, like Alchemist is a god of producing, and he's kind of like rapping a little offbeat on this song. So like I didn't know if that was kind of like a clever way of saying like, you know, how am I hopping on like this god producer's track and like I'm not even on beat, like I'm rapping off beat, but it kind of feels a little like sarcastic, because even though he's off beat, you know, it's the same way that there's so many off kilter rappers, so even though they're off beat, they're still like technically insane and still like coherent. Like it's not like he can't rap, you know, just he doesn't rap like an MF Doom or a Billy Woods. Like all three of those guys have different styles, but just in the same vein where he's not on beat, he is rapping in an offbeat pocket, but it's just like super intricate and complex, and it makes sense. It's just really weird and off kilter. And then later on, I love that part in the middle of the verse where he's kind of like talking about technology a bit, and he's saying, I talk sometimes just knowing my phone, the only one listening. You know, I think about that a lot, the fact that like, you know, our fucking phones are always listening to us. Like that is like, I don't know, it's just crazy to me how we all know that shit, and none of us, like, I mean, it's creepy, and like I guess I do care in the sense that I wish it wasn't always listening, but it's like we don't throw out our iPhones, you know, we just like, we're like, oh fuck, that's shitty, like our phones are always listening to us. Like, but it's like, oh well, like, you know, we're I guess we're so it's just like the phones, like modern technology is just so ingrained into modern society. It's like you can't even function without the internet, without mobile phones, without like connection to all that shit. So it's crazy, but like Jesus Christ, like these things are really always listening to us just to fucking sell us some more shit. And then he gets into that with his next lines when he's talking about, you know, how his phone advertises the Digit app when he gets a bag, you know, just like, I mean, just the way he talks about it. Like, I haven't really heard a rapper talk about this shit, you know, at least not in the way that Mavi does. I just thought it was really interesting how he, like, you know, he's kind of going about it slightly sarcastically, where he's not like saying like, oh, this is horrible, like he's not getting too glum about it, but like he's kind of just acting like a bit, you know, he's just acting like it's kind of not a big deal, but then again, it's just a little sarcastic to where it's like, you can tell like, yeah, it's like, it is fucked up that this is happening, like that's his perspective on it, but he just talks about it in a tongue-in-cheek way. And then he kind of caps off this section with another funny line when he says, if we aren't here to spark the revolution, all our series can. Like, man, like that whole bit in the middle, like, I mean, his whole verse again is fire, but that part, like just where the technology shit he was talking about, I just found it really funny and like pretty poignant at the same time. And I also love the line he had later on where he says, Robert Horry, I already scored if you lost me. You know, if you're a big NBA fan like I am, like, I mean, that's just, you know, I've heard a lot of Robert Horry lines in rap, but they're usually about like rings. Like, you know, Future has a line where he's like, got so many rings, I'm Robert Horry. You know, I hear a lot of that shit because, you know, Robert Horry has 7 championships rings, you know. I think there's only like Bill Russell and maybe a few other guys who played for the old Celtics who have more rings than Robert Horry. So usually I hear lines related to like rings, championships when it comes to him, but I've never heard someone like drop a line like this where it's really referencing his style of play, you know what I mean, like instead. So I just thought that was super dope, because you know, it's just like, you can tell from that one line alone that Mavi is a big ball fan, you know, the fact that he's actually talking about the style of play rather than just like the superficial, I'm not superficial, but you know what I mean, just like the more surface level aspect of, oh, he has 7 championships. Also, sorry for that loud ass fucking crow that's above me. He just does not want to leave me alone. But those are just snippets of this song. I can't quote as many lines as I'd like to, or else I'd just quote every single line on the song. Just go ahead and listen to it. But yeah, crazy verse from Mavi. I mean, Mavi, again, I'm a big fan of him in general. He has a lot of amazing songs, a lot of amazing verses. This is one of his best. I just think he just went Super Saiyan on this track. The next track is Lossless with Mike. I'm a huge fan of Mike as well, and I have to say, like, in terms of a Mike song, like, I guess maybe just coming off the Mavi song, where that is one of the best Mavi songs I've heard, this is a really middle-of-the-road Mike track to me. Now, that still means it's good because I'm a big Mike fan. You know, I think his verse on here is nice. Those kind of lazy, deflated horns, like that make up the instrumental, are super cool. And, you know, Mike's verse, it feels very wise, very spiritual, a very wise and spiritual kind of take on, I guess, his upbringing in the ghetto, and just like, you know, how he's able to come to peace even after growing up, you know, in the situation that he came up in. You know, I like at the start where he says, born in the plight, we was torn from the right stuff and floored by the prize, so my core was unrighteous, matured to abide, cry for more when the night hit, it soared to the sky, then it poured on the island. So I mean, Mike wasn't slacking on here or anything. It's a really good verse. It is a nice song. I guess it's just like, first of all, it just felt kind of short. Like the first few times I heard it, I was like, is that it? Like, I don't know, maybe just again because Mavi gave us so much. I just like, I don't know, I just wish there was maybe like another verse from Mike, or even the verse that we got was maybe like 4 bars longer. It did just feel I don't want to say unfinished or anything, but I just felt like this song needed a little bit more, just a little bit more substance to really hit home. And then also just the instrumental, again, I do like it, but Mike's just been on so many better and more interesting instrumentals than this, in my opinion, that this one doesn't really like sound special to have him on it. And also, not to double back, but I did forget to talk about the instrumental on Miracle Baby. Again, so Mavi had that really urgent rapping tone, and the instrumental, there's this like washy, really slow, almost like ambient vocal sample at the forefront, so that doesn't really match the urgency. But then kind of below it, it's mixed a lot lower, but it's just high enough to kind of like emphasize the propulsion and the tenseness of the song. There's like this jolty piano and these like really light, I can't tell what drum, but like some drum hit that pairs with those jolty pianos, and again, they really just match that energy from Mavi. So I just like that, how there's those, you know, the vocal samples that they are kind of more just like airy, atmospheric, but then you do have like in the low part of the mix, these more just like tense, really anxiety, blood pumping elements that just raise the stakes of the song. And again, Mavi capitalizes on that, and he kind of bounces off those, and they're a lot, they're played really fast, so he just rides on top of those with all his energy. It's great. I just didn't want to miss that, because I did reference when I was talking about his lyrics how I really like the beat, and then I forgot to talk about the beat, so there you go. That's how I felt about the Miracle Baby instrumental. It's really fantastic. Oh, also on Miracle Baby, there's like this drum hit. It's like one single, like weirdly timed drum hit that like it hits every second measure. It's really weird. I like it is something that like no other producer is gonna throw that into a beat, but it just really works. Like I can't even describe what it adds. Like again, it's like really weirdly timed. It feels out of sync with the rhythm of the other drums and the piano. Like it just comes in at such weirdly timed moments, but it just adds this little flourish and of just like randomness and weirdness. And I guess just with the whole just the type of energy the song has, it just adds even more like confusion and just like makes my head spin even more than Mavi's flow already is. So I just really love, like, it's such a simple detail and it's so weird. And again, like, I don't know how the fuck Alchemist thinks to put that in there, but it just works so perfectly. Okay, so back on track now. After the mic track, we have the Bruiser Brigade song, which is called Flying High. It has 4 of the 6 Bruiser Brigade members on here. Again, Z Loopers isn't on here, and neither is it Ahmed Dagod, or I always forget that guy's name. It's spelled really weird, and I haven't heard his debut album yet, to be honest. So I still have to get around to that. But I know there's this other guy, Ahmed or Quinton, I don't know. But you guys can say it in the comments if you want, or I can't look it up right now. But there is, so Z Loopers and that other guy aren't on it. But we do have Just, Fat Ray, Bruiser, Wolf, and Danny, of course, Danny Brown. And I love Danny Brown. He's one of my probably top 5 favorite rappers of all time, and he is good on this track. But honestly, like, I guess maybe just compared to the other verses, he probably has the weakest verse on this thing to me. Like, I don't know, a lot of his lines just feel really like he does write some punchlines, I guess, but they all just feel like pretty typical. Like, he didn't really see anything on this where I was like, oh fuck, oh shit, and Danny usually gives me those, so like I can't say it's a bad verse at all. I mean, it's fine, but it just feels like for Danny, it just feels very like standard. It just feels like a very standard rap verse, you know what I mean? But he just kicks things off. He sets up, maybe even like, he's the biggest one in Bruiser Brigade. Maybe he didn't want to steal the show. Maybe he wants to because he owns the label too. So maybe he wants to let his boys just shine for a minute. I don't know. But yeah, he just sets the stage and then he lets his boys go. And one thing I did find interesting is that the order of the verses on this song is the same order that these guys released their albums this year. Because Bruiser Brigade has kind of been on this nice run this year. They've been releasing like an album every like 2 months or something. At first it was Just, then it was Fat Ray, then it was Bruiser Wolf, and then it was Z Loopers, and then it was that other guy whose name I'm not gonna get right. But yeah, those last 2 aren't on the album again. So, but the first 3 is the same order as the verses on this thing. It goes Just, Fat Ray, Bruiser Wolf. So I don't know if that was intentional, but I just thought it was interesting that, like, again, the same order their verses appear is the same order their albums came out in this year. In Just's verse, I really liked that Mike Jones bar. Not only because it was pretty funny, but also I just like hearing Mike Jones references in modern rap, because I don't know, like, it almost feels to me like that's like an era of popular rap that like just everybody forgets about. I feel like when it comes to southern rap, like everybody remembers UGK, Goody Mob, Outkast, 3-6 Mafia, and I mean all those guys have different sounds. But I mean, back in the mid 2000s, like Mike Jones, like Paul Wall, like Slim Thug, all those guys were popping, and especially Mike Jones, man, like Still Tippin' was an anthem, and I mean it still is to this day. But it was a song like everybody fucking knew that song, man. Like if they were into hip-hop, like, and I mean that is just a classic, amazing song. And I mean, Mike Jones has a lot of great songs, but I'm just saying, like, I guess I just like that Mike Jones is being kept in the hip-hop consciousness, because he definitely doesn't deserve to be forgotten. I also like the line in Just's verse where he was like, "And I'm patient, unlike party girls waiting for powder." That was just silly, but got a good laugh out of me. I wouldn't say Fat Ray had too many quotables that really stuck with me, but I just like how he raps. Like, he has this kind of like heavy emphasis to his words while staying a little like reserved and low-key at the same time. Like, he just strikes this nice balance between like hard and cool and collected, and like he just sounds good on this beat. And I did like, there's one line that stuck out to me when he was like, deeper than the audience on Oprah, and I'm just like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't know if he's being tongue-in-cheek and like kind of just being ironic, but like when I think of like deep, like, or when I think of Oprah's audience, I wouldn't like think of them being deep. So like, I don't know what the fuck he means, but if he's just being ironic, then that's pretty funny. And then Bruiser Wolf comes in at the end, and in my opinion, he definitely has the best verse. Like, first of all, this guy's flow, I mean, he has that like auctioneer flow, if you know what I mean. Like, the way he raps reminds me of like watching fucking Storage Wars as a kid. Like, he just has even just a hilarious flow, but it's pretty dope too. And I guess like maybe a little reminiscent of like E40 maybe, but I mean, he definitely brings his own his own twist on it. And his lines, like, some of them are genuinely like super dope, and other ones are like so corny, but just like the way he delivers them makes them kind of hilarious. Like, I can't even be mad at them. Like, he has this one line, it's like the biggest dad joke I've ever heard. He says, "Well, baby, what do you call a guinea with the top off? That's a lamb chop." And like, again, it's so fucking corny. It's such a dad joke, but the way he says it is just so like charismatic and just so funny that again, it's like I can't even like, it sounds so stupid, especially when I say it and when I read it off my screen here, but when you hear it, it's like I do face palm, but it's like a face palm where I'm like laughing underneath. It's like, oh my, like, Bruiser Wolf, you are just a character. And then again, there are some lines he has that are actually like, fuck, like he has this one line that every time I hear it, I'm like, that is clever as fuck. Again, I'm a big NBA fan, so when I hear this, it's just like, damn, like the fact that he was the first guy to think of this line is crazy. But he says, it's a lot of things I ought to buy you, you know, Bam. Like, just that play on Bam Adebayo's name, brilliant, like fucking brilliant, man. Like that is one of the best basketball bars I've ever heard in my life. Like, fucking amazing. That is like a top-notch punchline. I can't front. But he just has so many great quotables in this verse. I'm trying to sample your soul, I'm just waiting on the clearance. I wanted to play for the Jets or Mets. Instead, I had to invest in pills, coke, and crystal meth. When I was 12, we held L's, talked about what we did for a living. It turns out we both do sales/sells. Like, he kind of, you know, spins that word where like it's supposed to sound like both words at the same time. So even though I feel like Danny and Ray are capable of slightly better verses than what they did here, I still think this is a dope posse cut. I still think, you know, it's cool to hear all these guys rap together, because hearing them on their own albums, it's pretty cool, but like when you hear them all together, it's just nice to hear them contrast off each other, and you see what each member brings to the group in terms of their rapping style and their personality. And the beat that Alchemist laced them up with for this track, super cool. It has like basically no drums. Like, I think there are like drums, but they're so faint they may as well not even be there. Like, there's basically no like for like head nodding, like, you know, drums or anything like that. And, you know, Bruiser Brigade, their artists, they do hop over really weird beats, and I can't really remember off the top of my head, but I feel like I've heard them rap on beats with like sparse or little to no drums. So like, I don't know if this is necessarily new for them, but I will say, like, usually like most of their songs do have that, you know, heavy Detroit bass. Most of them are head nodding, so it's just interesting to hear them on a track like this with this like weird, like warping, twisty sounding beat that again has like no percussion, but it's just super cool sounding. Like, it almost like sounds kind of alienish to me. I don't know, it's definitely, it might be the weirdest beat on the project, but it's perfect for the Bruiser Brigade guys, who are all pretty weird as fuck. And yeah, it's just a really cool track. Then we get to Wildstyle with Z-Loopers, and one thing I found really interesting about this track, when I heard it the first time, I was like, this kind of just sounds like a Z-Loopers song that I've already heard. And I'm not trying to say that as an insult, but what it really made me realize is that I feel like a lot of Z-Loopers songs in the past, a lot of his beats, have maybe had a bit of an Alchemist influence, and I just haven't really realized till now. Now, Z-Loopers is a guy, don't get me wrong, who he has rapped on a million different styles of beats. Like, he is never content with just having the same sound. He is always trying new shit. So like, he has rapped on, again, like a million different styles of beats. On every new project, it feels like he's challenging himself to rap on weirder or newer or different shit. So like, you know, definitely this is not what every Z Looper sound song's like, but there are some eras of Z Loopers, like especially on Gremlin. Like, there are some beats on Gremlin that I feel like are just very similar to what Alchemist gives him here. But this is a beat that, again, like, I don't feel like it's Alchemist trying to make Z Looper style, because this sounds like an Alchemist beat I could have heard like 5 years ago. Like, it's still dope, it's still fresh, but again, it just kind of makes me realize that maybe some of those Z Loopers beats on projects like Dynamite or Gremlin, like those two in particular, I just feel like they have beats that kind of have a bit of Alchemist influence, you know? So like, this song to me could fit snugly on either of those two projects. When I saw that Z Loopers was going to be on an Alchemist project, I kind of expected to hear him in a whole new element, but then when I actually heard it, I was like, oh, like, this is kind of what some of his songs already sounds like. Like, he has been like having Alchemist influence, but it still makes for a dope track. I guess it just didn't wow me as much as I thought as it might have when I saw Alchemist and Z Loopers collabing, because Z Loopers is one of my favorite artists out right now. But I will say, he still brings his insane, wild, eccentric, kooky, off-the-wall rapping that literally nobody else sounds like Z Loopers. Nobody in the past, nobody in the present, and I don't think anybody in the future will be able to replicate whatever the fuck it is Z Loopers does on the mic. His vocal inflections and his flows are literally wild. Like, Wildstyle is the perfect name for this song, because that is just Z Loopers. Z Loopers' style is wild. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess what I just like most about this is, you know, people who are big Alchemist fans but may not really know Z Loopers, they're gonna get a chance to hear his full weirdness and individuality on display. Because again, for me, a guy who listens to a lot of Z Loopers, this isn't really anything new to me. But like, if I was listening to him for the first time, this would be an amazing introduction, you know what I mean? Because it just encapsulates everything that's so great about him. So I still do love this song. It's just not as like mind-blowing as I thought it might be, but again, still really good. And finally, we close things out with 6 Heartbeats featuring Vince Staples. Now this, unlike the Z Looper song, this is Alchemist giving an artist a beat that is really, really different from anything else Vince has ever done. Now, I haven't heard every single like Vince feature he's ever done, or every single Lucy or Leak, you know what I mean? So maybe Vince has rapped on production like this before and I'm just unaware of it, but I've heard all Vince's solo projects. I've heard you know, all his most well-known features, I'd say, and even a lot of his lesser-known features. Like, I'm a huge Vince fan. I've heard a lot of Vince, and I have never heard him rap on a beat that is like super jazzy and soulful and retro like this, like 60s sounding, 50s sounding shit, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I really have never heard Vince on this type of like jazzy instrumental, and he sounds great on it. He has this nice little flow where at times he gets a little like sunny with these little melodic flourishes, but he's still rapping really nicely. For the most part, he's kind of talking about like fake rappers in the industry. You know, he's saying like, how is it that every single rapper has been a dope man? You know, it's like, is you really pushing for real, talking rock Zans? He's just saying like, all these rappers claiming to have sold drugs and to be like trappers, it's like, all you guys can't be telling the truth. Like, there's a lot of you guys who are faking this shit. And I mean, there's a lot of people in the game who like, we know fake that shit. So it's not like these suspicions are unfounded, but he's really just saying like, I bet a lot of you motherfuckers are fake. Like, that's really the vibe I get from this. He's just saying like, not just that some people are faking it, but like a large portion of rappers like who are just trying to get hot, just like fake having been like a drug dealer just for like the hype and the clout, and just like because they want to get famous off of rap, and they feel like to do that they have to, you know, put on this fake persona. He also has this weirdly endearing line where he says, "My mama helped my daddy bag the dope. That's real love." I mean, hey, I can't argue with that. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was a line where it's like, it's kind of funny, but it's also like, you know, there's some truth to that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know his parents' marriage. Like, I don't know if he's being sarcastic, like, or if his parents are even still together. But like, yeah, like if you're willing to, you know, go to jail and to be involved in like that type of shit for, you know, your significant other, like, yeah, you probably really fucking love them. But yeah, that is This Thing of Ours Part 2 by The Alchemist. Now, I'm just gonna apologize right away, because when I sat down to record this, I was thinking maybe this video would be like 5 minutes long, maybe like 10 minutes long at the longest. And my footage is like 40 minutes here, and I don't know like what I'm starting to get worried because I'm like, who's gonna watch, like, because when I edit this, it's probably still gonna be around half an hour, like at least like 25 minutes, and I'm just like, who's gonna watch a 25-30 minute review for like a 16-minute EP? You know what I mean? I don't know how long it is, but it feels like it's around 16-15 minutes. But like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I've been doing here. I've just been rambling, but yeah, I'm just excited about this thing. I love this EP. I love all the songs about it, and I really just wanted to go in depth. So to the people who did watch this fucking long ass video, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a big fan of this project. Again, it's really short, even shorter than this video. So if you had time for this video, go check out this EP. It's super dope. If you've already heard it, let me know what you think of it. Are you enjoying it as much as me? You know, the reviews are gonna keep coming. I'm gonna review the new Young Thug. Probably gonna review the new Magdalena Bay. I got some classic reviews coming, maybe for some Wu-Tang and for some Chief Keef albums, so keep your eye out for all of that. I'm really excited to be doing these reviews. You know, I kind of was at a point in like August and September, I wasn't uploading much. I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do with the channel, because I was doing reactions for a bit, and it got to the point where like every time I did one, I kind of felt like I was forcing it. It didn't feel natural anymore. You know, I'm proud of a lot of the reactions I did, and you know, there's some albums I may react to in the future, like if Cardi dropped one, or like if Kendrick dropped, like there's some artists where I feel like I could still give like a naturally genuine reaction, but a lot of shit, like I just, you know, I don't really have that strong of a first reaction to it, you know what I mean? At least not every song. Like there may be a couple songs on albums that I do, but to react to every single song and pretend to have a strong first reaction, I just can't really do that. So I'm glad that I've kind of found a new groove here with my reviews. I love shooting them outside. You know, I know the audio quality may not be the best, especially if there's background noise, like there was a lot in this video, so apologies for when that happens, but you know, just being straight up, that's just going to be the style of my videos for the foreseeable future. It's just going to be raw. It's just going to be me outside talking about music that I love, because I don't talk about music that I hate on this channel. Like I may reference it in other videos, but like the core of all my videos is positive. That's just how I want to be. You know, I'm not trying to be a critic. I'm trying to just be a guy who talks about like music that I really like. And of course, like if I'm talking about an album that I love, but there's parts about it I don't like I'll make those minor criticisms. But I'm just saying that, like, I don't know, I just believe in using my platform, the limited platform I have, to just talk about, like, to promote art, you know, to talk good about art, and not to like shit on it, because like stuff that I hate, like other people will like I don't know, I just don't really, personally, I just don't really see value in making videos shitting on albums. I used to do it. You can still find a lot of videos from when I was younger where I did it, but it's been quite a while. Like I don't know, I like spreading positivity. But yeah, I'm just making this already long video even longer, but I just wanted to let you guys have that little update, because I never really officially said it. But yeah, I'm mainly going to be doing reviews on this channel in this raw outdoor setting. I mean, it's going to be a different place pretty much every time, but it'll always be outdoors. Just me holding the camera, talking about music, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So again, thank you guys as always for watching. Let me know what you thought about this project, and have a great day.